Welcome to the Dreamers Hub podcast.
We can be whatever we dream.
This podcast is about collaboration between the dreamers and the doers to inspire more people to do more of the things they enjoy doing.
When you do what you love, you achieve so much more with your life.
So if you're into real people having some raw, unapologetic conversations, let's catch a vibe.
Today is your day.
And now, Nettie.
What up? Welcome back to the Dreamers Hub podcast. I am your host, Nettie, and this is the Dreamers Hub podcast where we talk about all things inspirational, motivational, the ups, the downs, the works. And in today's episode, we're going to be talking about slow and steady wins the race. I know it sounds cliche, but considering my current journey as a micro content creator, content curator, whatever you want to call it, I can tell you that from January, I've been going hard with the content. And mind you, this isn't like content that somebody tells me to create. This is just content straight off the dome, which as a creative is not necessarily always easy, but sometimes, when you're in the mood and, creativity strikes, you just have to capture it. And so that's one of the things that I'm learning on this journey that I've been on since January is how day in and day out, and certain days you will feel motivated, you will feel uninspired, you will feel all kinds of things through this emotional roller coaster. And that's just not a creative, that's just everybody in general. I do, however, believe that most people have some kind of itch, some kind of thing that they think about, that some kind of thing, just something in general that itches at them, that pokes at them, that they constantly think about, and that they constantly say, I want to do this, or I wish I could do that. Because let's keep in mind, before coronavirus and all that stuff, like everybody was going to work, doing the things that they needed to do because that's what you're supposed to do. And then coronavirus hits and all of a sudden everybody figures out or finds out what their thing is, what their calling is. And there's been so many creatives, businesses, just people out there doing their thing that, has that in a weird way, coronavirus allowed them to dive into those things because you were given time. Now, time, as we know, is of the essence. Time is something that you can't get back. But also when time is given, if you took advantage of it, during the pandemic, if you're still taking advantage of it, you know that until you're able to sit down with your thoughts, that's really when you can really just take a deep breath and really figure out what are the things that you want to do in life, what are the things that you don't want to do in life, and what are the things that are just not satisfying or fulfilling. One of the main things that I learned during the pandemic is just finding something that's fulfilling. And for me, that's creating content. And it's not in any specific niche per se, but it's all, I guess, in the grand scheme of things, if I look at all of it, it's just inspirational, motivational, positivity. And that's what I enjoy doing and what I enjoy creating. Now, with that, obviously, I know for a lot of us, because, some of us are back at work, and you got to go back to normal life. At the same time, it's like we've been given this opportunity to really be outside of ourselves and realize that life is way too short. Some people didn't make it through the pandemic. Some people had really hard times. Some people had it really easy. But at the end of it all, we've all been given an opportunity to slow down and figure out what it is that we want to do, what it is, how we want to navigate this world. We've all been given that time to some extent, more than usual because of everything that's happened within the last year and a half or so. And, I take a look at my journey and I think about where was I a year ago? A year ago, I was at Verizon, handling a small team during the pandemic, getting yelled at by people over their cell phone bill, getting yelled at over their phone not working. And it's just like, I think about it, I'm like, God, I was so miserable. And even within that time period, Verizon took care of me, took care of everybody as a company in general. But it gets to a point, and as you get older in life, maybe this is because I'm older, but as you get older in life and you get to a certain financial point where you're just like, I'm okay, you get to the point where you start realizing money isn't the thing that's going to make me happy. Friendships, relationships, everybody has their own categories to fill, right? And everybody has certain voids that still need to get filled. And mine was always the creative aspect of my life. That was a big void for me that it took me years to figure out, right? It's not till the pandemic came that I was just like, wow, this really is making me happy. And this really, like, I really enjoy doing these things. Yeah, it could be tedious. Yeah, it could take a while to edit. Yeah, it could, it could take whatever. But I enjoy doing that. And so through the pandemic, I realized that even though I was making money and even though, I was well off, I still wasn't happy. I wasn't happy with what I was doing. It wasn't fulfilling. It was like second nature for me. I did well at my job for the time that I was there. And at the end of the day, I knew that at some point I was going to either stay there until the wheels fall off, or I would have to come to a point where I was going to take a pay cut, do something else that would give me the time to do those things that I enjoy doing during my downtime. I started this podcast almost a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago now. There's something therapeutic about podcasting, and there's something therapeutic about creating content. So I believe that for everybody, there's going to be something therapeutic that you do, that you like to do, a pastime that you enjoy doing that genuinely brings you joy. And when you're in that mental state, it's like nothing even matters. If you've followed my journey from the beginning of the year, I started the content creation thing in January, and really just kicked it off once February hit that, I was let go of my job because of restructuring of the management team and whatnot. Basically, after getting let go after my job, at that moment, I knew that I would not have left that company, that corporate job. It wasn't necessarily 9 to 5 because it's retail hours, but I knew that I would never have left that job had that job not cut ties with me. And in the best case scenario too, right? Because, I got paid out. I got my benefits till however many months later. I had my 401k and all that stuff. So financially, I'm set. You know what I mean? I knew that would have been the best case scenario because otherwise I would have never left the golden handcuffs. And when that happened, there was a slight freak out, right? But when that happened, it was almost like a sense of relief. And the sense of relief for me was probably the most impactful thing that I got to experience because, maybe if this would have happened when I still owned a house, when I still, had a family, when I still had all these bills to take care of, or I wasn't financially stable, I would not have had that same reaction. Considering how the universe works and everything just aligned for me, when that news came to me, it was almost like I had been mentally preparing for the last year to year and a half to be in a state where I'm like, yes, it's go time. This is what I need to do. And so I started in January before I got let go. I started with content creation January 1st or January 2nd. Now, I'm 6 months in. I got let go mid-February and was still on payroll till end of February. I've been hitting the ground running and creating content. And during these last, from February till now, I've had a few ups and downs. And it's in those downs that I'm just like, I remind myself, remember when you asked for time? I would think to myself, man, it would be so cool if I could do this full time. Not realizing that you're manifesting as you say these things, because that is a thing. What you speak, what you think, thoughts do become things. And when that happened for me, not to me, when that happened for me, I realized that it was a time for me to really embrace and make the best of it. So yes, even though there's downfalls and even though there's times where I'm like, I don't feel like creating, or I don't want to get up, or I don't feel like being on camera, maybe that's 1 or 2 days, right, of things happening. Keep in mind, I'm also working through a breakup, and there's all these things at hand. But at the end of the day, it doesn't last more than a week. It doesn't last more than a couple days. The longest stretch I've had was a week where I was just depressed for a week. And that happened after I got back from Mexico, where I just kind of went downhill. And in that moment, instead of, going out and partying, doing all these things that I normally would have done back in the day, I just stayed home. I laid in bed. I just talked myself through all the emotions, let myself feel, cry, whatever, feel anger, whatever you feel. And, it's almost like as you get older, or I don't know, maybe with time, you start realizing that you have to have conversations with yourself in moments of frustration, in moments of being impatient, in moments of anger. And that all comes to terms with just you giving yourself time, or time being allotted to you in some which way, And so I just wanted to say and mainly focus on this idea that things have to be perfect every single day is just not sustainable. Content creation is not sustainable, right? Because we're given so much information all at once, and now we have to dissect everything within 7 to 15 seconds before you get bored, or the user or the end user, the person that watches the content falls off, gets bored, or starts flipping through. And comes this point in time where, just as a human being, you have to say, time out. Why am I doing the things that I'm doing? And regardless of an algorithm, regardless of time, regardless of what other people may think, you have to tell yourself that, one, you are on your own journey. You are on your own path, your own wave. So no outside influences should impact the way you move, right? They shouldn't impact it. So, to some extent, yes, you have to get inspired by other people and, get your information that way. But in reality, at the core of yourself, you internally have to tell yourself, these are the things, and this is why. Your why is the most important thing. I do the things that I do because it brings me this, it brings me that, it fulfills me in whichever capacity that is for you. But it does take time, and it does take working through all the feelings, all the emotional roller coasters that you're going to be on, because not every day is going to be perfect, and not every day you're going to feel positive, not every day you're going to feel motivated. And sometimes, just life happens, and that's okay. At the end of the day, it's okay for you not to be okay. But just keep in mind that each day counts, right? So if it's one day, if it's 2 days, if it's a week, that's for you. Take that time for yourself, figure it out, but be patient with yourself. Be nice to yourself. Don't think that because you think things should go this way, if for whatever reason it takes a turn of events, it doesn't mean that it's not meant to be that way. Sometimes we fixate on the idea that something should be a certain way. And when the universe pivots and makes adjustments for us, when the universe makes adjustments or shifts a different route than we had imagined, than we had envisioned, we can't take that to heart. We have to be able to adapt. We have to be able to progress within any situation, because at the end of the day, it might turn out better than what you had imagined. Let's normalize saying, I'm not okay today. Let's normalize saying, I need a day to myself, a couple days to myself. I need to recoup. Let's normalize, I need to recoup. Let's normalize, I need to re-energize myself. Normalize those things, because that time is for you. Your time is valuable. Your time is meant for you to get your own shit together, to get your mind right. Because if at the end of the day, you yourself are not okay, there's no way that you can bring your best self to a situation, to an environment. And that's not beneficial to anybody. The most beneficial you for everybody else is going to be when you are good with you. Make sure that you stop making excuses for yourself and start showing up for yourself the way you should. Slow progress is still progress.
Hold up. One more thing. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Dreamers Hub podcast. Don't forget to like, comment, rate, and share with the real ones in your life. Be sure to tune in to more inspirational content next week. Peace.